USANA United USA. Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun today. We're going to spend some time talking about objections, but first I'm going to give a couple seconds here for people to tune in. I know there's a delay, so I'll wait for people to kind of get here and start tuning in and tell me if they're hearing me okay. Give me the thumbs up, give me a smiley face, give me anything you can. Just let me know that you're hearing me, and that would be great. So Lori's watching. Thank you, Lori, my #1 fan. She's waving to me. So welcome to the Northwest up here in Washington. A nice, wonderful, cool day up here. High 60s, early, low 70s. Hopefully it's nice where you are, and probably hot. And just speaking of hot, guess where we're going to be in 1 month? We're going to be at the USANA Convention, and I hope many of you all will be at the USANA Convention too. So a month from today, we'll be finishing up the convention. So I do want to give a couple of announcements about that before we get going. And hopefully you watched Kathleen Rockney's talk on Monday about convention tips, getting prepared. If you have not, go back and watch that recording. She did a great job. But the early registration that started back in October and ends on the 20th is $279. When you get on site, it jumps to $499, and that's from August 15th to the 18th. A one-day registration when you get there is $150. And new associates, though, if you sign somebody up who wants to go, it's still going to be at the early bird price of $229. But some key dates. The cancellation deadline is June 29th. So if you do want to cancel and you need to cancel, hopefully you won't. We want to see you there. Do everything you can to get there. And the registration deadline, June 29th. One that's coming up this week, though, a deadline you need to know about, is June 20th, is the ticket sales close and to assign your tickets stops. So Friday the 20th, you can't assign your tickets. So this is a good week to get your tickets assigned, get people coming to the convention, get your team there, bring a friend, come to the convention. Okay, so let me move on from that. Also, just about USANA United USA page, thank you very much for all the contributors who have been helping us. The content has been fantastic. We did put together a survey. You might have seen that posted. If you've not, scroll down and see where Jay Lehman posted that. We really want your feedback. We want to see if this is meeting your needs, because this page is for you and your team. So we want to know if the content is too little, too much, just right, the length, other subjects you might want us to cover, contributors, things you want us to do at the page. We really would love to have your feedback, because we want to tailor this and continue to tweak it and grow to meet your needs. So go down there and take a peek at that survey. Tag your team, though, and also when you listen to a post and you really have somebody in mind you think would be on your team, needs to hear this material, tag them in there, and tag a bunch of people so they'll see it on their notifications and go over there and watch that on the Facebook Live. So let's talk about objections. This is my privilege to talk to you about how to handle objections. And to be honest with you, I really don't even like the word objection. To me, it sounds like a courtroom where somebody says, "Your Honor, I object." And it sets up this confrontational feeling. So if you have that same thought, I want to kind of remove that from you and just throw that out the window, and think of it more of normal, legitimate questions that are coming up in the process of you introducing somebody to USANA. So from the very beginning of you sharing it with them to where you help them make a decision about USANA, you're going to get a lot of legitimate questions that are coming up with somebody that they want to know more about, because they're making a major decision possibly. So I'm seeing some of the things. Maybe he said July, I understood June. I did say June, but I think I did, Daniel, I said June, but it should be July, those dates. So I'll come back at the end and clarify that. So let me give you an illustration. You're going to a car lot, you're going to buy a car. And so as you're looking at cars, you're going to have some very natural questions. Is this car big enough for the family? Where are the cup holders? How much does this cost? Am I going to be able to fit another payment into my budget? What's the safety record? What's the maintenance record? So these questions are going on inside of you, aren't they, when you're buying a major purchase like a car. And the salesman who comes out if they're trying to sell you the car, that's their goal. They're going to sell it to you, and they're just going to. But the good salesman really is not trying to make a sale. He's really trying to help you purchase it. He's trying to understand what your concerns are, what your questions are, to find out which product, which car is going to meet your needs. So the questions that come up really are legitimate, that you, as the person who's inviting them to look at USANA, can actually help them see how this can meet their needs and actually help them in their life. I know the questions really start, they might start at the very beginning, but a lot of times they're going to start during the presentation and beyond in the follow-up process. You're going to get a lot of these natural questions coming up. And you need to invite them, you need to interact with them, you need to engage them. And just as you know, your prospect, your friend, your family member who you're sitting with already has them going on. I know I did, you did. So when someone was presenting to me, I had questions right off the bat. But I didn't tell that person because they were just going on in my head. Do I need this? How much does this cost? Can we afford this with 2 adults and 4 kids? Is this legitimate? Is this company legitimate? Isn't this a pyramid? Can this person help me? Take me if I join them and be a teammate? Can they help me be successful? Do they make any money? So these questions are going on inside of me as this person is presenting. Know that is happening. It happened to you. So if in your presentation, just as a side note, during your presentation, if you're wise, you're going to anticipate a lot of those natural questions or objections, and you're going to be answering those in your presentation. You're going to be talking about the need for nutritionals. You're going to be talking about how USANA is different in terms of the compensation plan. You're going to tell them your story. You're going to talk about, so you just know that you can prevent a lot of those things from happening by you including those in your presentation. Especially if you know this person, it might have a particular question right off the bat. So normal, legitimate questions are there. But you're also going to be bumping up against belief systems. Okay, so those 2 things are in play. One belief system, or a belief system, what is it? Well, it's a combination, a myriad of what you've been told, what you've read, what you've learned, what you've experienced. All these things are smushed together, and that becomes your foundation of how you're interacting with your world and your life. And you are shaking that up a little bit as you're talking to them about things differently, about nutrition and how to make money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you are shaking that belief system up. And one of the belief systems in there is belief in self. That's why we spend a lot of time on Mindset Monday. Products, industry, company. Those beliefs are really important that you get them solidified and grow in those, but no, you're shaking those things up in your presentation for that individual. As a counselor many, many years ago, I was aware that when that happens, you're going to have like a mobile. These beliefs are stable, and I use the illustration of a mobile a lot, and I'll use that with you now. A mobile kind of sits in a balance. And this balance, when you start talking to somebody, something that goes against their belief system, it starts moving. It starts rocking and rolling. You know the old idea of rocking the boat? Well, this is rocking the mobile. It's moving. So what does a mobile do when it's rocking and rolling? It doesn't like to do that very long. It tries to push itself back to its original balance. They call it homeostasis. So the natural resistance you're going to feel is because the mobile is rocking and rolling. So you have natural questions, and you got this mobile rocking inside of them and their beliefs. And those 2 things are going to be in play this whole time. So the main thought here is, this is very natural. This is very normal. Relax. There's no way you have to convince this person, is to interact with them to understand what's going on inside of them and be able to answer their questions. As a side note, something you've probably already seen in yourself or other people really want to be different. They want to have more money. They want to have better health. They want to lose some weight. They really want to be in a different spot. But at the same time, they resist change. Isn't that strange? So one of their feet is putting on the gas, but the other foot subconsciously is slamming on the brake, and they stay stuck. So you're going to feel that in your presentation. You can see how well this person can grow and how this could help them in USANA. You're so excited for them, and you're so confused on why they keep pushing the brake on resist. It's because that's that homeostasis. They want to change, but they don't want to change. And they're gonna push back with objections. So when the comment comes out, I just don't have enough time for this. It might not be about time at all. It might really be more about that belief of, I wonder if I could do this, a belief in self. It's not about time. But you're not going to know that if you start answering the question about time, which most people do. Whatever question comes up, they try to answer it. Question, answer with statements. And you're not going to get anywhere. So really, the concept, and I'm not going to talk about every single objection you might hear. There's not a lot. There's maybe 5, 6, 7, the common ones. But today I'm not going to talk about the answer to the question. I'd rather talk about the concept of how you should be interacting with the person. So every objection you get, you can, navigate to help that person. So number one is you first have to understand where this question is coming from. You have to spend time like the car salesman to understand what the person's needs are. So I'm going to give you a little illustration. This is USANA, okay? Now, one of the first people I signed up as USANA associate was my mom. She's 87 now. She's been taking USANA for 23 years. So she was 64 when I talked to her, and I was talking to her about what I was learning. I was brand new. I was learning all about the nutritionals. So we're talking about vitamins in her world, vitamins. And I'm telling her all this wonderful stuff I was hearing about what Dr. Wentz was telling me about and teaching me, and whoa. And she was just, you could tell that she was already putting her hands up like, no, this isn't true. Because I was bumping up against things that she believed, like vitamins, you really don't need them. Her doctor was telling her, just eat right, take these medications, and you're going to be fine. So I had to really kind of get around on her side of the object and go, oh, I get what you're seeing. So I'm trying to tell her this piece of art, and she's saying, well, I just see these two blocks of wood, one's darker than another, and I don't see what you're seeing. If I spend the time asking questions to understand her perspective and what she is seeing from what I'm telling her, now I can actually get her to come on my side. So what I did was, I said, Mom, you're right. Back in those days, you probably could get everything from your food. Back in the 30s and 40s, from what I'm learning, you're right. The food was more nutritious. It had all the stuff that we need for ourselves was already in there. And so you're absolutely true. What your doctor's telling you is true. If you can agree with somebody on their question or their resistance, if you can find something you can agree with, it will soften that whole atmosphere because they're going to feel heard. So it's not necessarily the answer. First step is to see if you can help them feel heard, understood. And once I did that with her, and I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. This whole industry shouldn't even be around, but we live in a whole much different world. It's much more toxic from what I'm learning about. And so all these things that have happened in our world, the chemicals and everything else, this is a whole different world back from when you were a kid and growing up and when we were kids. Once I kind of helped her feel heard, then I can have her come around on my side of the subject, and I can say, now let me tell you what I've been learning. And I can tell her the beauty of what Dr. Wentz has been discovering, what he's been teaching me, and going, whoa, and what we've been experiencing in the family, and tell her the story. And now she was much more receptive to hear it, because it's much different. Same object, isn't it? I mean, the same thing. But what she's hearing is from her perspective, and her beliefs and natural questions was much different from what I was learning, but it's the same thing. So if I'm sitting there trying to convince her to see it my perspective, I'm going to lose her. If I'm trying to make the sale, and I'm going to get into that argument to say, no, that's not true, which a lot of people do. They handle objections by trying to overrule the objection with more facts and more whatever. And you're getting into a power struggle. You're going to win the argument possibly, but you're going to lose the relationship. You're going to lose the opportunity to really understand the person. Once you understand them, now the next thing is to help them see it differently. So those are the two concepts today. If you have anything to take away, the concept of first spend time handling every objection with more questions to understand, and then you will know what story, what fact, what tool you can present to help them look at it differently. And you might find that happening in many, many ways along the path. Might not just be one, because remember, you're bumping up against beliefs that have been, solidified for years, that you're changing, and that mobile is rocking and rolling. By the way, as a little side note, in talking to a couple, and this has probably happened to you, it's happened to us a lot of times, you're talking to somebody, they leave your presentation, they're so fired up. They have that accelerator down to the floor, they're going 100 miles an hour, and you follow them up, and next thing you know, guess what? It's like you're talking to a different person, because they go home and now they don't want to do anything to do with you. USANA, this is whoa, what happened? Well, when you have a couple, there's a mobile going on there too, and you've rocked and rolled it unknowingly. You have, because when you're only talking to one part of the couple and they have the accelerator floored, they go home, the other couple is going to naturally slam on the brakes because you've upset the whole homeostasis of the couple. So think ahead on that one. If you're going to share with somebody and do a presentation, try to do it together with them as a couple, so you can actually get them and answer their questions together, and they can go home. The chances of success for you and for them, and to simplify that journey, is going to be much higher. Also, another side note, Google. Where do people go get their natural questions answered? Well, in our day and age, people go to Google. I go to Google. You go to Google. We go to YouTube. And so, just as a little side note about the invitation process, when you're inviting somebody, best to actually say and not tell them this is USANA right off the bat. You're not trying to trick them. You're trying to give them the best opportunity to hear everything and be able to handle their thoughts, their questions from you. Because guess what? In fact, this happened to us last week. A friend of ours talked to another friend of his and said, I want you to talk to my friend out in Washington about USANA. And so I'm texting this gal and saying, well, we're setting up this Zoom presentation with Lori and I, and we're going to share, and she goes, this about USANA, yes, this is about USANA. But she already knew it was USANA, and knew this was going to happen. I almost could forecast it. The night before the presentation, she writes back a text saying, I went ahead and did some research on USANA, which probably meant she looked it up on Google, and I've changed my mind, and I don't have any time right now to do anything like this. And so, instead of having the opportunity to help her see it differently from us and our stories and what we see, she heard all of her questions were answered by Google, and you never know who's going to be answering those questions on Google. So best in your presentation or in your invitation to actually set up your presentation, you hear somebody that has this need for nutrition, say, hey, I am so excited about sharing something with you that really might help you with that. Do you have 30 minutes we could meet this week? What is this? It'd take me a little bit too long to explain it. I'd take about 30 minutes, but I don't have time right now. But I'd love to sit down with you to share. I got some neat things that really might help you. When do you have time? Set up the appointment and then explain to them so they can hear the whole story, and you can actually interact with their questions and those beliefs that are going to be coming up. Okay? So there's a couple side notes along the way. Let's talk about, real quickly, how much time we have. I'm not going to go real long. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quick here. Let's talk about feel, felt, found. You've heard this. There's these three words, as you've probably done reading on books about network marketing and how to help somebody grow your business. When you come up with objections, what do? Feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way until I found USANA, which answered that question. I like the concept of that. I love the idea, the concept, but I don't like how it's formalized, if there's such a word. Somebody makes it a formula. So every single thing that somebody hears, they say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way until I found USANA. Well, unless you've really done the work of really knowing how they feel, you're going to lose them. Because the person will feel dismissed, minimized. You really don't know how I feel. Because you didn't ask me any questions. You just said that so you can move on to make the sale. So, but the idea is good. The concept is good. You really want to understand how that person feels, where this thing is coming from. And if you felt the same way, or if you didn't, but you know somebody else, that maybe it's a story from Dr. Ladd McNamara. A story would be great. Maybe it's using Dr. Ladd. Maybe it's something from Karen Wolf. Maybe it's from a friend of yours. Maybe it's a fact that you know about Percosa. Maybe it's what I used with my mom about Dr. Wentz's story. The stories, now you can identify with them with something that you know. And then you can show how USANA is different, which is, there's your main gun to really show them and help them see something different is, how is USANA different than how they experienced? So for example, if they say, this is a pyramid scheme. Now, if you answer that question with, no, it's not a pyramid scheme, let me tell you what a pyramid scheme is and how this is not a pyramid scheme. You're missing an opportunity to really build the relationship and understand and answer that question better. Whoa, sounds like you might have been involved in something like this before. Where have you been involved in a networking company before? Question to let them answer and tell you their part of their story. Maybe it's them, maybe it's the parents. Maybe you learn, and as the more questions you ask, well, wow, what happened when your folks were involved in that company? Well, what did you see as a kid? Maybe you're going to hear they lost all their friends, they lost all their money, they're still bitter about it. They talk about it with Uncle so-and-so every Thanksgiving. Ask the questions to understand and get in their shoes. You know, hear about this side of what's going on until you can say, you know what, I get it. And when you can put your own words to it, now you can say something. So when you heard that at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and you saw that happen to your folks, you would say, hey, I don't want to be involved in anything even close to that. Yep, that's exactly right. I totally get that. In fact, that's where you can tell your story. Maybe you were involved in a company like that. I wouldn't go deep into the company, but I would say, yep, I totally get that. And I can see how that could happen. I've heard those stories. My friend was involved with that. But let me show you, can I show you how USANA is really different? Because they really are different than that. And that's what I really appreciate about USANA. It is so different. It works as a team. It's about people helping people. It's very different. Can I show you how that works? Now the chances of them coming over here and seeing USANA are much different because they really did feel heard. And then you're able to identify, and you could agree with them if you found a place to agree. And now you can actually help them see it differently, and you're helping them closer to the decision point. And maybe the decision point is with the nutritionals, just give this 3 or 4 months and give it a try. What do you think? Would you like to give it a try? But you're going to have all kinds of objections, finances, you know, beliefs about whether I can do this myself, whether this company is legitimate, you know, how come I've never heard of this company? Are you making any money? Please know the answers to those. So you need to be a craftsman of your trade. You need to be a professional, and you need to study and know, but you don't need to do it all at once, but you need to know which tool to bring. For example, and I'll close with this, a friend of mine who's an electrician asked if he'd come help me with some projects around the house. And he said, sure. So he comes, and there's some things, of course, outside of my realm of expertise, and we're talking about how to wire this and do that. And it would have taken me a long time on YouTube, and it might have been dangerous me doing it myself. So I really wanted him to show me. But it was amazing to see how he could see the resistance and how he figured out a way to get around it and do it. But the tools he had in his toolbox, he knew which tool to use at which spot, and tools that I'd never seen before because he was a professional. He knew exactly how to fix the problem, and I trusted him. So the question, as you answer these questions, remember the question I told you I had while I was listening, and you probably did do too, is can this person help me? If you are helping them along the journey and you're helping them answer those questions, the chances of them trusting you to take, them joining you and you taking them further are much higher because the way you related to them. But if you relate with them, answer, and they feel like you just have answers, very likely they're going to be kind of going, well, yeah, I'm glad you're doing that, but maybe it's going to harden their ears to be able to hear what you have to offer them. So that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to give you lots of answers. I just want to give you the concept. Spend time asking the questions. Know you're going to get them. The questions, the belief system that's in mobile, you're going to get it. It's going to be stirred up. Expect it. It's normal. It's good. Spend time getting to know somebody. Know which answers to give them. What's usually stories are going to be your best, but sometimes facts. And then you're going to help somebody along the journey to the point where, and somebody will probably be talking about closing, which really is a fancy way of saying just bringing somebody to the point of making a decision. Know that people do want to change, but they are going to resist. That is very, very normal. Be patient, answer their questions, relate, let them trust you, tell them stories, tell them about you. And that's how I handle objections. So I'm going to spend just a couple times looking at some questions here. And we will call it quits. Let's see. Let's see if I can move back here to questions. I'm on my iPad here. So, and I will look at this thread later on. If you do have questions and you're watching this later as a video and you have a question, please put it on the thread, and I will answer that as best I can. And I really invite everybody else to join in, give you ideas of how you do this, how you relate. I don't see any particular questions, so I'm going to close it out. Again, see you next month, August, at convention. Excited to see you guys. Please come up, and if we don't know you, please introduce yourself. We'd love to make friends. One of the best things that happens at convention for us is making a huge community of friends around the country and even around the world. So we'd love to be able to see and meet you and your team. So, okay, have a great Wednesday. See you next month.